Hello, family, and welcome. So, this is my very first practice with me class. It's not even a class. Honestly, I've kind of gotten away from doing like general yoga classes. Most of my classes now are therapy based, and I'll be talking about that later. But I thought I still want to give to the yoga community and also offer free yoga classes or free yoga experiences. I want to be part of that body of work still. And so, in order for it to make it work for me, I thought I'm just going to have practice with me times where it's not going to be some scripted class. It's not going to be, oh, it's for this or for that. It's literally what I feel like doing. So, really, this is my own personal practice that I'm inviting you to come along for that journey. And I can't even say how often I'll do it. It's kind of whenever I feel like turning on my camera. It's not going to be pretty or like shiny video. I'm shooting this really on a Zoom. It's not on my computer, which is not like the best quality. But I think that's not the point. I think that what I want to show is that your yoga practice, your asana, your physical practice of yoga, and even your other practices, stuff where we do stuff on purpose, doesn't have to be this long hour practice. It doesn't need to look a certain way. It doesn't need to include this, that, or the other. I mean, sometimes I feel like doing sun salute, sometimes I don't. When I come to yoga, when I come to do my practice, it's kind of for me. And I want to show that you can also do stuff for you. You can also kind of create that experience for yourself. Yes, going to a yoga class with a teacher, I think, is really important, especially, well, it's always important, even for teachers, to kind of connect with their own teachers. But it's nice to do that for community, but it's also nice for your safety so the teacher can kind of see what you're doing, see if you need adjustments or some modifications. But the magic happens when you take that with you. And many people say, well, I don't know what to do. But here's the thing. You do know. If you've gone to enough yoga classes, you do know what to do. You just repeat some of the stuff that they do, just the basic things. Sometimes you can just start off in dog pose and go from there, like pick a pose and go from there and just let it be organic. And that's kind of what I'm doing now. As you can see, it's so organic that I do not have a mat. Most of the time when I practice, guys, I don't have a mat. I only have a mat like when I'm making a scripted video or if I'm teaching in a class. Other than that, I don't use a mat. I use the floor. And today I feel like doing a little bit of yin and doing a little bit of, I don't even know. So you're just going to come along for the ride. And yeah, grab your mat if you have one or a space on the floor and come join me. So I'm starting in this, it's called bound angle or Baddha Konasana. And I'm doing this because my hips are tight. So bring the soles of your feet together. And you can even press them together if that feels good. Just kind of settle in. And sometimes when I practice, I don't even have this sort of time where I'm taking breath. Sometimes I just go right into poses. There's nothing wrong with that. You're making the practice your own, and that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Right now, it feels good to me to take my hands and kind of lace them underneath my feet and pull my spine forward slightly. I'm going to drop my shoulders and just take some breaths. To me, right now, it feels good to lengthen my spine, but for you, it might feel good to round it. So do what works for you. And to me, right now, just in this moment, it feels good to kind of use this as a yin posture. So I'm finding my edge. I'm holding the pose. I'm going to try not to wiggle a lot. I'm just sort of talking out loud what I want to do with this. In yin postures, we find the shape, go to the edge. The edge is where you start to really feel something, but it's not too much. So it's not, doesn't hurt. I can hang out here for a minute or two if I want. I'm not going to get real anal about, oh, I'm going to set the timer for 2 minutes or 5 minutes. You can do that in a yin practice, or you can do it organically. Like I said, for this is kind of what I feel like doing today. And I'm just inviting you to come on, come and join if it suits you. So invite yourself to find stillness and quiet. Maybe set an intention for yourself or a purpose. I'm now choosing to let my spine round a little because that's what feels good right now. Do what feels good for you right now. I'm sort of focusing on loosening the back of my jaw because I tend to clench it during the day. Softening my eyes because I tend to stare at a lot of screens because I will usually work from home. Do what you need to do to soften in. If you need to come out before I do, do that. Do something else that feels good for you. I'm choosing to come out of it now, so I'm just going to walk myself out. And when you're doing a yin posture, how you come out is just as important as coming in. Take your hands to your outer knees, press them together. As you can see, I'm wearing socks. They're not even socks. I'm not even sure what you call them. I got them from when I was on yoga retreat. Bring your hands behind the back. That's what I'm choosing to do because I need to go the other way. So I'm going to extend my legs, but I'm also turning my hands behind me, bending my elbows and puffing my chest out a little bit, just sort of holding this. Flex your feet if you'd like. And then straightening my arms, maybe lifting the chin a little. That feels good for me right now. All right. Coming into a yin half butterfly. So I'm just bringing one foot in. As you can see, the other is out. I'm choosing to flex my foot. You can choose to let it just be whatever. Lengthen spine and rotating my chest toward the leg. And I'm just going to walk forward until I feel my edge. And my edge is kind of, they're a little bit more shallow these days because I've been doing a lot of strength training. And so those muscles are a little tight at the back of my body. So what feels good to me right now is to continue with a yin practice. That could change. Just really moving intuitively. I invite you to do the same, or you can kind of follow along. making any adjustments that you need. You can always soften your knee some. You can not come in as deep as what I'm doing, or you can even go deeper if that's what calls to you. So I'm really in these sessions going to encourage you to do what you're called to do. Do what works for you, because then that practice becomes yours and not become something that I say you should do, which, you know, at the end of the day, it has to be what calls to you. So if you're doing this with me, you can stay in the stillness of this pose and add other things to it. So you can choose to contract or squeeze the muscles in your front or the upper thigh, the quads. Maybe think of pulling up on the kneecaps, and that will tell the back of your leg, the hamstrings, to soften. So when you contract the opposite muscle group, so my target is the hamstrings. If I contract my quads, the opposite muscle group relaxes. You can come in a little bit deeper if you wish. What you choose to do with your neck and shoulders is completely up to you. As with anything, I'm trying to just tell myself to relax the jaw, soften the eyes. You can let your head kind of drop if you want. You can gaze at your toe. You can turn your head side to side. Whatever makes sense to you right now. You can let your spine round. You can lengthen out over the leg. And I'm going to choose to come out of it. I'm kind of walking myself back. Just remember, like, again, is that if you're doing this sort of yin experience, come out nice and slow. I'm going to just release the legs. I'm not even sure how long it was. Generally in yin, we hold poses anywhere from 2, sometimes to 10 minutes, but usually it's like 2 to 5. All right, I'm going to go on the other side. We call this half butterfly. And again, your half butterfly doesn't have to look like mine. Some people like to go really wide with it. Mine is a little bit more modest. So do what feels good for you. I'll start with my lengthening my spine, and I'm going to start with an alignment. So I'm going to try to move and angle my torso so it faces the leg. And then I'm going to fold forward from the hips. And I'm going to just stop when I find that edge. And for me, the edge is kind of where the body stops itself and maybe just a titch past that. Yin practices also give you the opportunity to practice some pranayama or some breathing exercises. So maybe even just focusing on mindful breath. So you might make any adjustments in the torso so that you can feel a fuller breath if you're going that route. Thinking about softening wherever you can, especially around the rib cage. Maybe breathing in to a count of 3 or 4, and then breathing out to a count of 3 or 4. So it's okay for my body to go a little bit farther. You may already be folded in half, or maybe it's not okay for your body to go farther. So really tap into what works for you right now. This side, my leg happens to be not as tight as the right. The right side's really tight for some reason. And for me, that's enough. So I'm going to ease myself out of it and release out of the pose a little. Oh, that feels pretty good. And again, from that back bend, I feel like I need a little bit of a forward, sorry, from the forward bend, I feel like I need a back bend. So I'm going to do this again. Kind of fingers are facing away, bending elbows, sending legs forward, roll the shoulders back and lift, kind of exaggerate. I like to exaggerate this lift of the sternum, melting the spine up and in toward the collarbones. Do it feels good. So if you straighten your arms and you feel a strain in your elbows, keep a micro bend and release. Right now, a twisting movement feels really good. So I'm going to give myself that. I'm just going to sit cross-legged. I think I'm going to actually take this into a circle. So I'm just going to move my torso around. And this is what your practices can look like. You might have something in mind, and then you might go, this would feel better. I think I want to do this instead. I was going to go right into a twist and then decided this movement feels better for me. And then I'm going to pause and go the other way because I like it. Now I'm ready for a twist. Roll your shoulders down. Now I'm going to twist to my right, which may look like the left. I like going to the right first. Just a simple twist, nice long spine, and I'm going to just rotate. Stopping where the body stops, lengthening the crown of the head. Trying to sit right up on the sitting bones. So having that mindful movement. And then switch the other way. And release. And just kind of came to me, I really want to do a Sphinx pose and hold that as a yin, even though I know I'm mixing some yin and bin or yin and yang together. I don't really care. So forearms are on the floor, legs are about hips width apart. I can turn this way too, so you kind of see it this way. I'll roll the shoulders back. And then find that edge. Now, this is a big edge for me. I've been unfortunately doing more sitting than I prefer. So this is for right now in this moment, this is feeling the edge pretty quickly. I shouldn't say unfortunately, it just is what it is. Finding the edge and then finding the stillness. Now again, you may choose to hold this pose longer or shorter. You may decide it feels better to squeeze the buttocks or the legs. You may find it feels better to tuck the toes under and activate the front thighs. Whatever it is, do what feels best. I just really want to emphasize just this extreme importance to find a practice that works for you. Yoga does work, the asanas work, but they only work really with consistency and practice. And most people can't afford to go to yoga classes every single day. Most people don't feel like scrolling through a myriad of yoga videos on YouTube or Instagram and finding the practice that seems to fit them. They just don't have the time. You spend more time scrolling than actually doing. So learn a few things in your classes or online, and then find a practice. Find something that works. Maybe it's 10 minutes, maybe it's 20. That is about as long as I feel like holding this pose. I'm actually going to come into something that I like to call crocodile. I'm just going to stack my hands and rest my head. Soften through my lower back. And turn the other way. I'm going to do one more, which I'm going to call it, I don't know what you call it, banana or something. So I'm just going to lie on the floor. Take my arms up overhead. Hopefully this mic kind of doesn't do anything weird. And I'm going to cross my right leg over my left. Then I'm going to scoot my legs to the left. And I'm going to arc my upper body over to the left. And I might even like grab my right wrist and just, kind of weird when I've got the mic moving. Hopefully that's better. And I'm just going to hold it until it feels good. It's like a little side stretch. Really no wrong or right way. I'm trying to feel it in the side of my body, so the right side of the body. Really let that right shoulder drop to the floor, or at least relax. And then come to center, and then I'm going to do the other side. I'm just going to switch the legs, arms up and over. And I'm just going to bring my legs to the right and arc over to the right. Really simple supported stretch. You can do it in your bed even. It feels good being on the floor because you don't have to worry about balance. Also, the floor gives you nice feedback, meaning I can tell if one shoulder is lifted really far off the floor. I can use the floor to kind of press my heel into it as I stretch over to the right. Gives me a little bit more resistance. I'm just going to come back to center. And actually, I just feel like I want another moving bridge. So this is probably going to be the last thing I do. I invite you to join me. I'm just feet hips width apart, making sure my feet are pigeon-toed in a teeny bit. Because when I lift my hips, my feet tend to splay. So I'm lifting my hips, arms reaching up, just kind of reaching up, everything all the way up. And then slowly with an exhale. I'll do that a couple more times till it feels good, or for as long as I feel like it. Blowing myself up like a balloon and releasing down. And then hug your knees into your chest. If that feels good to you, it does for me. So that's what I'm doing. Now, I could give myself a Shavasana, just kind of resting on the floor. I invite you to do that if that's what feels good for you. I also invite you to do any other movement, stretching, anything. If you want to go longer, go for it. I, however, am not going to take a Shavasana right now. I usually do, but today is kind of a busy day. So I'm just going to take a moment to express some inner gratitude. You're invited to stay, do what is good for you. I am choosing to come out of it. And that is my mini practice for today. And like I said, I know the lighting isn't great. I know this isn't like the best situation, but really the whole purpose of this is to show that it doesn't have to be super shiny. It doesn't have to be this grand, big movement practice. It can literally be you rolling on the floor and rebalancing your body, doing what works for you. I hope you enjoyed it. I invite you to practice this over and over. Thank you for practicing with me. And please make sure you share this with friends. Thank you so much, my friends, and namaste. Peace.